Most people think that building muscle and losing fat comes down to just lifting heavier weights or running longer on the treadmill, but that's not how the body works. The real lasting change, starts in the kitchen and more specifically with protein. Protein isn't just another macronutrient. It's the very foundation of muscle tissue. Without enough of it, and without the right timing, your body simply doesn't have the tools it needs to build or preserve lean mass, especially when you're also trying to lose fat. Let me explain how this works every time you train, whether it's resistance training, HIIT, or even a long walk. You're not just burning calories, you're creating tears in muscle fibers. That's a good thing. It's your body's natural way of saying, okay, we're going to adapt to this stress. We're going to come back stronger. But that growth only happens if you give your body the right raw materials, namely, amino acids from high-quality protein. If you don't, the body won't rebuild the muscle. Worse, it might even break down more tissue to meet its needs. That's muscle loss. So the goal becomes very clear. You want to give your body a steady, consistent supply of protein, particularly right after your workout. Why? Because right after training, your muscles are more sensitive to amino acids. This is what we call the anabolic window. It's not a strict 30-minute clock like some people make it out to be, but there is a real benefit to eating protein within 30 to 60 minutes after your session. That's when muscle protein synthesis is at its peak. Miss that window consistently, and you're leaving progress on the table. Now, let's talk about quality. Not all protein is created equal. You need what's called a complete protein, one that contains all 9 essential amino acids in the right ratios. Think eggs, lean beef, chicken, turkey, fish, whey protein isolate, and even some plant combinations like rice and beans. These are the foods that signal the body to start repairing and growing. Among the amino acids, there's one that's particularly important, leucine. It's like the ignition key for muscle growth. Without enough leucine, you can eat all the protein you want and still not trigger optimal muscle repair. That's why whey protein is so powerful. It's high in leucine, rapidly absorbed and efficient. When you're in a fat loss phase, the need for protein actually increases. That's because your body, without enough energy from food, might turn to muscle tissue as a fuel source. Protein intake protects against that. It preserves your lean mass, and that lean mass is metabolically active. It helps you burn more calories even at rest. More muscle equals a higher resting metabolic rate, and that's exactly what you want when trying to burn fat. Let me be clear, you don't need to obsessively measure every gram or turn every meal into a science experiment, but you do need to be intentional. Start your day with protein. Don't rely on carbs and caffeine alone. Give your body a solid dose of protein with breakfast, something like eggs, Greek yogurt, or a quality protein shake. Then post-workout, refuel with another 25 to 40 grams of protein depending on your size and training intensity. This simple shift, timing and quality, can completely change your results. You'll notice something interesting too. When you increase your protein intake, your hunger becomes easier to manage. That's because protein is the most satiating macronutrient. It keeps you fuller for longer, reduces cravings, and helps you stay on track without relying on willpower all day. So not only are you building muscle and burning fat, you are doing it in a way that feels sustainable. You're no longer fighting your body, you're working with it. All of this comes back to one truth. If you want to transform your body, stop thinking only about what happens in the gym. Start focusing on what happens in your kitchens, specifically what you eat after you train. That's where the real change begins. When most people decide they want to lose fat, their instinct is to slash calories as aggressively as possible. They start skipping meals, cutting out entire food groups, or living off salads and protein bars, thinking that less food automatically means faster results. But the truth is, that approach doesn't work long-term. In fact, it's one of the fastest ways to sabotage both fat loss and muscle growth. What your body needs is balance, not starvation. Here's the science. Your body is always trying to maintain a state of balance. When you suddenly drop your calories too low, your metabolism doesn't just sit back and keep burning at the same rate. It adapts, it slows down. Hormones shift, energy dips, and your body starts to protect its fat stores instead of releasing them. And if you're not getting enough protein while in that deficit, which many people aren't, your body can even begin breaking down muscle tissue to get the amino acids it needs. That's the last thing you want, especially when your goal is to build a lean, strong, energetic body. So what do you do instead? You create a mild caloric deficit, just enough for fat loss, but not so much that your metabolism starts fighting back. Somewhere around 10 to 20% below your maintenance level is the sweet spot. That means if your body needs 500 calories to maintain weight, you drop to around 0 to 250. That's sustainable. You're still eating enough to train hard, think clearly, and recover well, but your body begins to draw energy from stored fat. This is what we call body recomposition, losing fat while either maintaining or even gaining lean muscle mass. And here's something most people don't realize. When you're in a smart, controlled deficit with high protein intake and consistent resistance training, your body becomes incredibly efficient. You get leaner, stronger, and your energy doesn't crash halfway through the day. You're not constantly hungry, you're not battling cravings. Why? Because you're fueling with intention, not starving yourself and hoping for the best. Another important piece here is consistency. It's not about being perfect every single day. It's about giving your body a predictable pattern of intake so it can adapt safely and sustainably. If you're constantly swinging between super low calories and cheat days that spiral out of control, your body gets confused. You want to create a rhythm, eat nourishing meals, hit your protein targets, create that slight energy gap, and then let time and consistency do the work. Now, people often ask, can I still build muscle in a deficit? And the answer is yes, especially if you're new to training or coming back from a break. Your body is highly responsive at first, but even for advanced lifters, if you're smart about your nutrition, sleep, and training, you can maintain most of your lean mass while dropping fat. The key is making sure that the deficit isn't too large and that you're eating enough to support muscle recovery and growth signals. Think of it like this. Fat loss is like slowly draining a pool. You don't want to punch a hole in the side and flood the basement. You want to create a controlled flow. That's what a mild deficit does. It gives your body a chance to adapt without panic. It sends the message, we're okay, we're not starving, let's keep moving forward. So if your goal is to get lean while staying strong, the worst thing you can do is go extreme. The better way, the sustainable way, is to create a small but consistent caloric deficit. Fuel your body with nutrient-dense food. Eat enough to train hard, sleep well, and recover. That's how you lose fat without losing muscle. That's how you build a body that performs and lasts. Most people treat carbohydrates like the enemy when trying to lose fat. They cut them out completely, thinking that carbs are the reason they've gained weight or can't see their abs, but carbs aren't the problem. The problem is not knowing when to eat them and how to use them to your advantage. When you understand timing, carbs become one of the most powerful tools for building muscle and burning fat. Here's what actually happens in your body. After a workout, your muscles are in a depleted state. You've used up glycogen, your body's stored form of carbohydrate, to fuel your training. In that moment, your body is primed to take in nutrients, especially carbs, and shuttle them straight into the muscle cells to start the recovery process. This is when insulin sensitivity is highest. What that means is your body is more efficient at using carbohydrates for fuel and muscle repair rather than storing them as fat. This window after training is your opportunity. If you've ever heard of carb timing or nutrient partitioning, this is what it's really about: eating in sync with your body's needs, not fighting them. By placing the majority of your carbs around your workouts, especially after, you improve recovery, reduce muscle soreness, and support muscle growth. At the same time, you minimize the chance of those carbs being stored as fat. The rest of the day, especially during times you're less active or at rest, you want to scale carbs down and prioritize proteins, healthy fats, and fibrous vegetables. This keeps blood sugar levels stable, controls appetite, and encourages your body to burn more fat as fuel throughout the day. You're teaching your body to become metabolically flexible, to switch between using carbs and fat depending on what's most efficient in the moment. People get this wrong when they eat high carb meals late at night or on rest days and wonder why they feel sluggish or aren't leaning out. But once you shift your carb intake to match your training schedule, everything begins to click. You feel more energized during your workouts, your recovery improves, and your body starts changing in ways that feel almost effortless. It's not about eating fewer carbs, it's about eating them with purpose. Use your training as the anchor for your nutrition. When you've pushed your body hard, reward it with the fuel it needs to grow stronger. And when you're resting, give your metabolism room to burn stored fat. That balance, that rhythm, is what drives long-term results. Fat often gets a bad reputation. For years, we were told that eating fat makes you fat, that it clogs your arteries, slows your metabolism, and should be avoided at all costs. So people started cutting fat out of their diets, replacing it with processed loaf, snacks, refined carbs, and artificial ingredients. And what happened? Energy levels crashed, hormones fell out of balance, and fat loss stalled. The truth is, your body needs fat, just not from the wrong sources and not in the wrong amounts. Healthy dietary fat is essential, especially when your goal is to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. It plays a crucial role in hormone production, particularly in supporting testosterone and other anabolic hormones that drive muscle growth, energy, recovery, and even motivation. If your fat intake is too low for too long, those hormones can drop significantly, and when that happens, everything slows down. Your training performance, your recovery, even your ability to burn fat efficiently. Think of dietary fat as the oil that keeps your internal engine running smoothly. It helps you absorb key fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, all of which contribute to recovery, immune function, and energy metabolism. It also supports your joints, your brain, and your nervous system. So it's not just about calories, it's about the essential functions that allow you to show up and perform day after day. But not all fats are created equal. The key is choosing the right types. You want to focus on whole food sources like extra virgin olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, pasture-raised eggs, avocados, nuts, seeds, and even some grass-fed butter in moderation. These fats contain omega-3s and monounsaturated fats that reduce inflammation and support hormonal health. What you want to avoid are the processed seed oils and trans fats found in fast food and packaged snacks. They do the opposite. They increase inflammation, promote fat storage, and disrupt your cellular function. When you're eating in a slight calorie deficit, including enough of these healthy fats becomes even more important. You're already asking your body to do more with less. If fat intake drops too low, hormonal output can tank, and with that, your strength and muscle retention suffer. Instead, by keeping fats in your diet strategically, around 20 to 30% of your total calories, you're giving your body what it needs to recover, build, and burn efficiently. It's also worth noting that dietary fat helps control appetite. It slows digestion, which keeps you fuller longer, and it prevents the blood sugar crashes that can trigger cravings. That steady energy is exactly what you want when you're pushing through tough training days or trying to stay sharp and focused during long work hours. You're not just feeding the body, you're stabilizing the mind, so don't fear fat. Embrace the right kinds in the right amounts and let them do their job. Because when your hormones are optimized, everything works better. Your metabolism, your mindset, and your muscle. One of the most overlooked elements of body transformation, whether it's fat loss or muscle gain, is when you eat, not just what you eat. Timing matters. The way your body handles food in the morning is very different from how it handles food at night. And for people who are trying to optimize fat loss while holding on to or even building muscle, understanding this simple fact can completely shift the results. There's a rhythm built into your biology, your circadian rhythm, that governs when your metabolism is most active, when insulin sensitivity is highest, and when your body is primed to use food efficiently. Early in the day, your cells are more insulin sensitive. That means your body can better process carbs, shuttle nutrients into muscle, and use calories for energy rather than store them as fat. But as the day progresses, especially late at night, that sensitivity drops. The same meal that might fuel you in the morning could push you toward fat storage at night. This is where time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting can play a powerful role. By compressing your eating window, say to 8 or 10 hours, you give your digestive system a break and allow your body to shift into a state where it can burn fat more efficiently. But it's not just about skipping breakfast or eating in any 8-hour block. It's about shifting that window earlier. Load your calories when your body is ready to use them. Eat your first meal within a few hours of waking, especially after movement, and aim to finish your last meal a few hours before bed. That's where the magic happens. This simple shift doesn't just help with fat loss. It also improves sleep quality, reduces late night cravings, balances energy levels throughout the day, and even enhances muscle recovery. Because your body is not trying to digest a big meal while you're trying to sleep. You recover deeper, your hormones regulate better, your metabolism gets more efficient. You don't need to obsess over exact meal times or follow rigid fasting protocols. Just give your body a consistent rhythm. Train during the day, eat around that, and avoid heavy meals late at night. Over time, this trains your metabolism to work with you, not against you. It's not about restriction, it's about alignment. When you eat in sync with your biology, fat loss becomes easier, muscle maintenance becomes smoother, and your energy stays strong all day long. When we talk about nutrition for fat loss and muscle gain, the conversation usually revolves around calories, protein, carbs, and fats. And while those are critical pieces, there's another layer most people ignore: micronutrients. These are the vitamins, minerals, and trace elements that don't get much attention, but they quietly run the entire system. Without them, everything slows down. Your energy tanks, your recovery stalls, and your metabolism can't operate efficiently, even if your calories and macros are perfectly dialed in. Take magnesium, for example. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including muscle contraction, recovery, and even sleep regulation. If you're low on magnesium, and a large percentage of people are, you'll feel fatigued more often, your sleep will be disrupted, and your strength gains will plateau. The same goes for zinc, which plays a major role in hormone production and immune function. Without enough zinc, testosterone levels drop, recovery slows, and fat loss becomes more difficult. Then there's potassium. This one gets almost no spotlight, but it's essential for regulating hydration, muscle contractions, and nerve signals. If you're training hard and not getting enough potassium, especially from whole foods like sweet potatoes, avocados, and leafy greens, you may find yourself struggling with performance even if your protein and calories are on point. And let's not forget the B vitamins. These are key players in turning food into usable energy. If you're chronically low on B6, B12, or folate, you might feel like you're doing everything right, training, eating clean, staying consistent, but your energy never climbs. That's not a willpower issue, it's a cellular energy issue. Micronutrients don't work in isolation either. They're synergistic. Iron needs vitamin C for absorption. Calcium competes with magnesium. Too much sodium without potassium throws off fluid balance. It's all connected, and that's why whole foods should always form the foundation of your diet, not supplements first. Real food, colorful vegetables, quality animal proteins, seeds, nuts, fruits, and clean starches. These deliver the raw materials your body needs to function, adapt, and grow. It's easy to get caught up in macro tracking and forget this layer. But when you start paying attention to your micronutrient intake, even just by diversifying your food sources, you unlock another level of performance and transformation. It's not about chasing numbers. It's about fueling the system that builds the body you want. So when it comes to losing fat and gaining muscle, it's not about extremes, it's about strategy. You don't need to starve yourself, cut out entire food groups, or chase the latest diet trend. What you need is alignment, high-quality protein timed around your training, a smart and sustainable calorie deficit, carbs used when your body needs them most, healthy fats to support your hormones, an eating schedule that works with your biology, and a foundation built on nutrient-rich whole foods. When you combine all of that with consistency and patience, your body starts to work with you, not against you. That's where real, lasting transformation begins.